Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Quick video before I head to the gym. But anyway, so supposedly, I've been seeing a lot of, I guess, videos out in the last couple of days, saying that Keith Thurman versus Earl Spence is going to be happening, and it's happening on December the 17th. And as far as all that goes, I get quick to the point. No, it's not happening. Um, a couple of different reasons. One of the things that I heard was the fact that that on December the 17th, I guess they had an opening at Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium, and that basically he was Earl Spence would be having a home fight on that particular day. The only problem with that is that this is Texas, and in Texas, that's the week where they're having the high school championship games. And if anybody knows any high school championship football games, if anybody knows anything about Texas, they know how seriously they take their football. So chances of them having a pay-per-view fight for somebody who's from Texas on that particular day, slim to none. And I believe all the games are actually being played at Texas at AT&T Stadium. And I mean, people come out there. You're talking about 60,000 plus people coming to watch those games. It's a big thing in Texas. So that's the number one thing. The number two thing is the time frame. You're talking about 6 weeks. 6 weeks to promote a pay-per-view, Earl Spence pay-per-view. I just don't see it happening. That's number two. And then just in general, a fighter preparing for an Earl Spence in 6 weeks. Espinoza said two things. Number one, he said that there's no dates available for the rest of this year. So I could see, obviously, they probably have other events already planned that are still going to happen probably in late November or December, probably maybe one or two events. But, those are already spoken for. Those dates are already spoken for. So they're not available for Earl Spence. And also, just again, the time frame. No one's going to do something like that it's going to face him within a 6 week period. So because of that, whenever he does fight, I'm still thinking he's probably going to fight in January. But I'm thinking it's February, the date where he was supposed to fight Terrence Crawford. I think that's the date he's going to fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just kept the Las Vegas date and they just had him fight in Las Vegas on that particular date, depending on who he's fighting. I mean, if he was fighting somewhere like, let's say, a Fedora, I could see that happening. Obviously they could also just have him fight, at Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium. But I know he also likes to mix it up and not necessarily fight. He doesn't want to necessarily fight every single one of his bouts at that particular location. So if they already have a slot set in for for February in Las Vegas, I'm thinking that's where he would go. One of also the biggest things is the fact that when Espinoza, I guess somebody on Twitter put that information on, like, hey, what's going on? Is this about happening on July the 17th? And on December the 17th, and he left. And he made it clear that nobody besides any people from Showtime pretty much announced their fights. There've been too much inaccurate information, I guess I could say, as it pertains to PBC, as it pertains to Al Heyman, and also as it pertains to Earl Spence. And I think this is just a continuation of that. I don't think he's fighting on the 17th at all. I'll put money on it, whatever. He's not fighting on the 17th, and don't see him fighting Keith Thurman. I don't see him fighting Keith Thurman at all. He's made it very clear on many different occasions that he does not want to fight Keith Thurman. I'm not sure how he would, if anything would change if, let's say, they made him a mandatory. If the WBC, let's say, made him Keith Thurman mandatory, would he then change his mind? I don't know. I think in the past before he said that he would just drop the belt. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that. So just being as stern as he is, I just, I don't see him changing his mind. But again, things do change. Maybe somebody, people have a different train of thought sometimes as time goes on. So maybe that's the case. Who knows? But for right now, I'd have to say no. There's nothing that he said so far, that would make me believe that would be the case. I would think he's either going up to 154 pounds, or I think I could see him also facing his WBA mandatory. I could see him doing one of those two things, but I don't know how long he necessarily wants to still be at this weight class and how he feels. Because I know one of the main things he wanted to do was to just get the undisputed after getting undisputed to move up. But with Terrence Crawford, skating off, leaving that, final draft with all the changes he wanted on the table and not signing it, and him going somewhere else to do whatever his bout with Avenetian, whatever his name is, on December the 10th, if that fight even happens. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do, whether he's going to be at 147 and continue fighting there, and maybe he'll try to get undisputed again, or whether he's just going to move up to 154 pounds, which I can see him doing. I know there was also a question of why would Fedor fight him, when he's number one in the WBC and he could be fighting for a belt. I mean, fighting for a belt is nice, but at the end of the day, the number one thing you want to do is be in the biggest fights and monetarily put your family and yourself in the best space that you can. And that would definitely be fighting an Earl Spence. That's a pay-per-view that's going to do hundreds of thousands of views. You're talking about a 5 million plus gate, and you're monetarily being able to put yourself into a financially pretty good space. And people will take that over a belt any day. You have Devin Haney, who's undisputed right now at 135 pounds. But any single fight, if the fight's available to them, whether they could fight him or they could fight Gervonta Tank Davis, 10 out of 10 times they're going to pick Gervonta Tank Davis because of if you were able to get, let's say, a 30% split or something like that, 35% split, you're going to take that because monetarily it's just a way bigger fight, substantially bigger fight. Even at a 30%, whatever it is, you're going to take that fight, because at the end of the day, it's called prize fighting, period. And, getting the belts and everything is nice, but, the number one thing is to get the absolute biggest prize that you can get. So we'll have to wait, and we'll have to see, what exactly he does. But as far as that news of him fighting on December the 17th and fighting against Keith Thurman, everything points to no. It's not going to happen. 6 weeks is just too tight of a time frame. It's too tight of a time frame, and nobody's doing that. They're going to want to have a full, especially even let's say, quote, it was Keith Thurman. This is a person that we know has issues making weight. We know this is a person who, he balloons up in weight, like should I say. He makes weight, but he balloons up where he has to cut a lot of weight. He's not going to take a challenge of that nature within that short time frame. He's going to want 2-3 months to really get in shape, get, his, what do you call them? Get the right sparring partners and really, really, really put in that work to get ready for what would be the biggest fight of his life, along with anybody else that would have to fight him. Even if it's a Jaron Ennis, he's not taking that fight on short notice. He would want to make sure that he's in the absolute best shape of his life. Stanionis, same thing. He's like, I'm the mandatory. I'm going to want to make sure I'm in the best shape of my life. And 6 weeks just isn't going to do it. It's not practical whatsoever. And I said it before, I'll say it again. All these rumors, all these reports, as it pertains to PBC, as it pertains to Al Heyman, as it pertains to Earl Spence, it's been going on for months. It's been going on for almost a year, I could say, where it's just been a lot of negativity that's been put out there, and a lot of it, as time has gone, has gone through, it's turned out it's been 100% false. It's just one thing after another that's false. This is false. The next thing is false. The next report false. Next report false. Next report false. Next report false. So the question becomes like, how many times exactly are we gonna have to see these false reports before we start saying, you know what, when it comes up, what I've been doing, it's just, and I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. I've said it. If anybody puts out any report that pertains to the PBC, pertains to Al Heyman, pertains to Earl Spence, Gervonta Tank Davis, you don't listen to it. You don't listen to it. There's no inside sources. There's little to no inside sources. And there's been too much inaccurate information when it's come to that side, when it's come to those people. Too much, to the point where you cannot believe things that come out. And you have to just kind of sit back and wait and see, what actually is going on when actual official news comes out. But I guess in the next week or two or whatever it is, we'll find out. Because Earl Spence said has good news. It's going to be coming out soon. And whatever that news is, I don't know what that time frame is. I don't know. A lot of people are saying this week, but just because somebody says soon doesn't necessarily mean it's this week. It just means soon. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks. Who knows? It could be 3 weeks. Because like I said, I'm figuring he's going to fight in February. That's what I'm figuring. So I'm probably in the next week or two. I'm guessing the next week or two. No sources. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.